All signs point to this as we have a recent article from Eric Engels, a top Habs insider, outlining the likely draft day outcomes for Montreal, and it is not what we were looking forward to, but it presents a very interesting opportunity going forward. We have to dive into exactly what Eric Engels said and what these signs are pointing to for the Montreal Canadiens on draft night, but it's not just that. We got to dive into some recent talks from Arber, but also the Habs in general on what the future looks like for Kirby Dach, and there is one little tidbit there that is way more promising than we anticipated, and finally, we're going to talk about one breakout candidate from Montreal, a guy very near and dear to my heart. A lot of great stuff coming up on this episode of Habs Digest, and we'll start with this, Jesse. Now, this comes from an article from William Bourget. We'll link it down below, as always, right? Fantastic article, great stuff. Talk about a few names. Jakub is mentioned, but the one we want to focus on today, Kaiden Guhle. I mean, look, Kaiden Guhle, you guys all know, one of my favorite players in the world. I love Kaiden Guhle. I keep saying I think his contract will be one of the best in the league as soon as maybe next year, 2 years from now. But you can see here, he said, look, he's already proven to be one of the most dependable defensemen on the Habs roster since entering the league. His poise, his skating, defensive maturity have stood out. Jesse, he has yet to put up a full 82-game season, but his production has been unreal. He was on pace for almost 10 goals this year in just the 55 games he played. Of course, he had that brutal injury, lacerated quad, all that stuff, but Kaiden Guhle, when healthy, is a shutdown defensive guy who blocks a ton of shots with still yet untapped offensive upside, Jesse. We can't forget that this dude had basically the same offensive production as Jake Sanderson in the rookie years. I'm still very high on him, and I'm really glad that other people are seeing it too.
For sure. And this whole team, this whole Montreal Canadiens squad is really coming into its own next year. And our boy Guhle here, is this going to really be an example of that? Not only because they're maturing kind of that young core with Guhle, obviously Caufield, Suzuki, Slav, etc., but it's also kind of achieving that certain like threshold of talent that you need in the NHL to be successful. Because I mean, we know with Guhle, right? Like injuries has been a big part of it. You mentioned he's going to really look to get a full season next year, but he also just needs like that stabilizing partner to have that stability on that back end. And many people are pointing to, they're asking if Hutson could be that partner. Like, let us know in the comments below, like who you feel is the ideal partner for our boy, Guhle going forward, right? Because I mean, Hutson has proved, I think at this point in time, that he has the goods to be a number one D-man, but it's really now going to be on Guhle to really prove that as well. And if he can, we know how mobile is, how smooth skating. Wouldn't that be like such a great combination to have with Hutson, who's just so unpredictable, right? How do you counter that? Smooth Guhle, Johnny on the spot all the time, who could really kind of jump in offensively, which we've been kind of talking about, who's the ideal pairing for Hutson kind of going forward? Can we just get somebody on the third pairing? Is Guhle able to kind of come onto that top pairing there? Because we know we can do it defensively. It's just, can like Hutson maybe bring out like that dormant offense in Guhle, which we feel is there. It's just this young core, right? As you're maturing, coming into your own, so many good things coming together. And I definitely feel absolutely that Guhle is going to be a byproduct of all of this.
I mean, it's totally not the sun. Obviously, I'm getting so red because I'm blushing. I'm seeing Kaiden Guhle's face. I'm seeing these stats. I can't wait to see what's coming up next. Red as a tomato here, but like you're absolutely right, Jesse. I mean, I know this is a big if that I'm about to say, right? And it's a big if that causes huge like discrepancies in value for a left and right shot D-man. But if Guhle shot right, we wouldn't even be questioning this for a split second. We'd say this is one of the perfect partners for Laine Hutson. Obviously, of course, playing on your offside is very difficult. Again, like keep ins at the blue line. There's so many more things than that in your own defensive zone, the way you can break out. But Kaiden Guhle has played a lot of right side already in his NHL career, and so has Laine Hutson. So, unless we get a ready-to-go right-hand shot D-man, like unless Reinbacher is ready very soon, I think this could be a very good pairing. But let us know down below, because I think you're bang on. That could unlock Kaiden Guhle's insane potential. But speaking of potential, I mean, unfortunately, that's about all we can talk about with this next guy. And, before we dive into the draft night plans, a lot of potential coming from those draft picks for sure, and what trades could come from that. But I want to talk a bit about Kirby, because Arber in his recent mailbag, which again is fantastic. Go check it out down below as always. But there was a lot of talk about Kirby Dach, a lot of questions. And I think there's a lot of questions from Habs fans every single day when it comes to Kirby Dach, right? Again, the what if, right? Is that 38 points in 58 games, Kirby Dach, who dominated on the first line with Suzuki and Caufield, ever going to come back? Maybe, but I wanted to dive into something Arpen said. He said, I was told Dach's rehab is going very well. He's doing monthly health checkups with the team, and some of his conditioning metrics are at an all-time high. All-time high, Jesse. That is awesome. Now, conditioning is not game shape, but that is still very, very important. He said this is the last year of his contract. As Kent Hughes said, look, there's still some belief in the enormous potential. Jeff Gorton said it as well, but it needs to be realized, like, we're coming down to the end of it here, and like Kirby Dach, whether we like it or not, needs to prove something this year. And with a lot of gaping holes in this lineup, and again, like the report we'll get into in a second, Jesse, like, filling that 2C role is looking harder and harder and harder as every single day goes by. It might just be Kirby Dach at the start of next season. Are we ready to give up or not? Like, because I don't think so. This is very much make or break, but when it comes to Kirby, I think, because we haven't seen Kirby Dach with Ivan Demidov, I genuinely think that could be something that changes our perspective on him. And I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket and hope for that to happen, but I will say I am very cautiously optimistic with this health update, plus this roster that continues to get experience, that we will potentially see a nice little breakout at the start of the season, but maybe I'm getting my hopes too high.
I mean, it is a contract year for Kirby Dach, but you just have to feel like you wouldn't want that to be the sole motivation. Yeah. Like, this just speaks to like what he needs to do this year. Like, he really needs to impress us. But like, in an ideal world, he's playing a good year, good enough that we give him an extension, right? Like, the ideal world can't be the opposite that he's not. Like, we want to see him succeed. We believe in the potential that he has. I believe that starts absolutely, though, with him being on the third line, on the wing, and really needing to kind of earn it going forward, which I think kind of maybe adds to us getting that 2C and why that's so important going forward for just that internal competition. Maybe if Kirby needed to earn it a little bit more, I don't know, sheltered, it's hard to say shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But just how do we avoid these type of situations? Because, I mean, we know that the talent is there with Kirby Dach, but one thing is for sure going forward, he's going to need to earn it, but there is a lot of potential here. There was the questions which are alluded to in the article, which is great. Like, maybe some conditioning issues, and like, maybe there is a little bit of a fire under Kirby Dach's belly now that he's realized this is what I need to work out on. Maybe by getting the conditioning, having that right, that's kind of pre-handling certain injuries happening going forward. So nice that he's maybe getting at the root of it, because the talent's there. If he can just be in the lineup, get in there consistently, I'm a believer in what he can offer. But we need to take the pressure off him to begin with. I'm still a believer in us getting a 2C, still a believer in Kirby Dach, but he's really going to need to earn it going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think there might be a fire even lower than his belly. Like, this guy, I think there's a lot on the line for him. Like you said, I mean, these injuries, like, not only for himself, like, you got to imagine mentally for yourself, not just in terms of an NHL player getting a contract, but believing in yourself and your own ability that you saw where you were like 3 years ago and you just haven't been able to get back there. You keep getting derailed. It takes someone incredibly mentally strong to get back to that level. And I know the Habs have a lot of fantastic outlets for him, whether it's, the coaching, the rest of the teammates, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very hopeful for it, but you're right. Like, at the end of the day, it's a business. Can't wait to see what he comes in with this season, though. Leave your thoughts on Kirby Dach down below, as we got to transition into our final thing. And we alluded to not being able to get a 2C very easily. And look, a lot of this comes from stuff around the league right now. Look, we just saw the Trevor Zegras trade today. He's not going to be a 2C for Montreal no matter what. He'll do whatever he's doing in Philly. Look, there's a reason that trade package was so small. So just saying. But Canadiens draft preview, trade potential lowered by current market dynamics. Fantastic piece by Eric Engels, as always, linked down below. And actually, I'll go through some quotes here. One from Eric Engels said, in an ideal world, this is right off the bat, the Montreal Canadiens would use their 16th or 17th or both to trade to make the team better right now. However, that might not present them with that opportunity between now and when they're called to make their selections Friday. As of this writing, it appears that it won't. And not only that, he goes on to have an anonymous executive come in and say, look, nearly every team wants to take a step forward and acquire roster players, but none of them really want to sell ones they have. Hey, does that sound familiar? Right? There could end up being a lot of movement come November when some of these teams realize adding over the summer wasn't in their best interest, but I'm sure there'll be some trades, hockey deals, but it's probably going to be quieter than a lot of people are hoping for. So Jesse, at this moment, all signs are pointing to Montreal making these picks. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not upset with that, because even though, drafting players, like, you'd want to trade them to make the team better, even if we can't get a deal done, having good prospects is always good. We've seen, Jesse, I feel like a lot of Habs prospects have really, in recent years, we've done such a good job of drafting that other teams are very jealous of our prospect pool. Places have us number one for a reason. So having picks here right around where Caufield and Guhle were selected in the past, I don't mind just drafting these other players, even if it's not for us, even if it's for these prospects that I trust the Habs organization to bring from a 15th, 16th, 17th overall level pick to a top 10 caliber prospect. That could arguably be even better than just trading the picks as is.
Kent's done a great job of drafting, but he's also done a great job of making trades happen, which why I'm not ruling this out, Josh, because the cap is going up. And I feel like that's one part of this whole conversation that nobody's talking about. They're saying how quiet the market is, but the cap going up, there's no world for me, Josh, where like it's like raising up so exponentially and not affecting the market in terms of course it's going to affect the market and the trade and the activity that's going to happen as a result. That being said, it's like a fair point that, you know, Jeff Gordon, while saying that he would be aggressive this offseason, he said, like, we're not just going to make trades to go forward. That was kind of the other side of that coin as well, which I think is fair. And like, I'm happy we're not doing a Zegras move. We're not getting some guys which are out on the market we could get, but we've noticed aren't the fit maybe for his size or for different kind of reasons there. Cant is looking to make absolutely the right move, but you have to feel like he doesn't need to sell everything, but he does need to push the needle to be competitive. It's like, because the league is competitive and other teams want to improve, shouldn't be an excuse for us not to want to be more competitive. In fact, it should be more of a reason, and why you sometimes need to add a little bit more to the trades that you want to do there. Who is in a better position than anybody else to be able to do that? 2 picks in the first, 2 picks in the second, 3 picks in the third. Everybody's getting a pick if Hughes really wants to going forward. He's just done such a great job of kind of really managing our draft capital and making those trades that he's just giving me every reason. Like, he's just being patient. Like, he's cooking. We have that emoji for a reason. It's like when you're cooking, it takes time to make the meal, right? And everybody just sees the meal when you're kind of eating it, but not all the work that goes into it ahead of time. But you got to feel like Cant is doing that right now. He's motivated by this team. He wants to do right by them. And you have to feel like the team is really grateful for that.
Just because you come home and mom had the slow cooker on and you might sigh at first doesn't mean it's not going to end up being a very tender roast at the end of the day that you're going to crave then when you move out from home when you're 18 years old to go to college. That's like, you know, that meal still matters, right? I mean, it touches the heartstrings. I mean, and it's exactly what Kent's doing. There's no need to rush into it, to go buy takeout on the way home from McDonald's and be like, you know, that was pretty tasty, but like it wasn't quite mom's home cooking. You know, that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for that big move. And look, whether it's at the draft or not, we are in such a good position. I can't wait to see what's coming next, but leave your thoughts on all of this stuff down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in every single day. Hey, we're on the road. We're traveling. We're still here to give you daily Habs content. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.